he gives instructions. He also tells them that we're doing some things that they should not be doing concerning the Lord's Supper. But he sums up in verse 26 of chapter 11, "For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death till he comes." The idea of proclaiming, we're preaching a lesson. We're preaching a gospel sermon as we partake of the Lord's Supper. We're telling the world about the death of Jesus. And the people that killed Jesus didn't really know what they were doing. I'm sure they thought they did. Matter of fact, you remember the words of Jesus when he was hanging on the cross, when he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Now, there were some things that they did know, I'm sure. They knew that Jesus was a religious teacher, Luke 23 and verse 5. They knew Jesus did miracles, performed many miracles, John 11 and verse 47. And they knew that the person that they were killing was a man. He was not a varmint. He was not a dog, some animal, but he was a man. And they knew that, but they didn't care. But they also they also did not know some things. They did not know that Jesus must die. In the 3rd chapter of the book of Acts, in verse 17 beginning, the Apostle Peter, again preaching at this time, the second gospel sermon that we have recorded in the New Testament. He says, "Yet now, brethren, I know that you did it in ignorance, as did also your rulers. But these things which God foretold by the mouth of his prophets, that the Christ would suffer, he has thus fulfilled." They didn't know about these things. They didn't know that it was necessary for Jesus to die. They didn't know that killing Jesus was a fulfillment of prophecy. In 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 7, the Apostle Paul begins there and says, "But we speak the wisdom of God in a mystery, the hidden wisdom which God ordained before the ages for our glory, which none of the rulers of this age knew, or had they known, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory." They also did not know that Jesus was the Christ. In that very familiar passage to most of us, I think, in Matthew chapter 16, Jesus asked the question to his disciples, "Who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?" So they said, some say John the Baptist, some Elijah, and others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. Obviously that they were not sure who Jesus was. And then he asked the question, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter answered and said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." These people did not know what they were doing or what they had done. But we do know, as we partake of the Lord's Supper, this proclamation about the death of Christ is very important to us. And every time we partake of it, on the first day of the week, we proclaim the Lord's death until he comes again. So as we partake of this bread and the fruit of the vine, the elements that are very familiar to us, let's keep all of this in mind.